All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the CS Music Masterclass today with Darin Adams, Broadway coach and founder of Appcompanist. I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, Darin, and let you do it.
All right. Hi, all. Some of your faces I see, some I don't. But the point of this class is because I'm spending an awful lot of time these days trying to help my colleagues who are at universities as teachers or students who are singers deal with this new reality, which is online voice coaching. I do this sort of thing a lot. I actually live in New York. We're here in my studio and in New York City, and I work with a lot of Broadway singers, a few classical singers. And I've been forced to do this for a while because I'd have students go out on tour and they'd still want to check in and study. I know it's hard. I know for a lot of you that are new to this, it's like this is the topic on our minds. How do I not lose my mind while trying to teach remotely and do something very artistic through a very non-artistic medium? So I'm hoping I can help with that. My plan for this little class of ours is to dump a bunch of information your direction and sort of give you the questions, answer the questions that I assume I'm going to get, and then give a good amount of time for you to go ahead and ask questions. So you can certainly use the chat. We have Dane Trimble, who's brilliant at CS Music, and Mary, who's brilliant at CS Music, and they're sort of moderating and watching. So if I goof and I miss questions, they'll help me remember to go look at those questions. So I will make sure we get a lot of time for a question and answer. But the very first thing I want to do is just kind of go through, and I founded a company called Appcompanist. My first passion and love and my first activity is teaching voice and singing. I'm a composer. I was sang opera for years, musical theater for years. Love teaching, love singers, feel for all of you and exactly what you're going through. So that's number one. The App Company is sort of a secondary passion and love that came out of necessity. I had too many people who had 3 and 4 Broadway shows under their belts walking into my studio and putting down their iPhones and saying, hey, record this for me so I can practice later. And I play horribly. So it was a double lose situation for them. So we built a product years and years ago called Maestro that was in use by a lot of colleges and things. Appcompanist is sort of the latest version of all of this idea of getting some technology that is primarily a musical instrument. Appcompanist is really designed by voice teachers and singers. It's not a, we're not a tech company. We are musicians who are trying to build a piece of tech that will actually react and address the needs that we have real time in the practice room and in the studio. And so today, as I talk about online voice training, something a lot of us have just been forced into recently, it turns out as sort of an unexpected blessing that this thing we built for practice and for teachers who just don't play really well, or students who can't accompany themselves, that's really why we built it. We built it to prepare you for your collaborative time with your pianist and your teacher. It just turns out now we don't even get that collaborative time. So it's sort of a godsend tool, because you'll see as I run through the features that this really can help make teaching online possible, and it can really help both on the student end and on the teacher end. So I'm going to just dive right in. If you don't know about Appcompanist at all, I will say we're on iPhone now. We actually have an Android pre-release out. So whether you are an Android or an Apple person, you can make use of what I'm going to talk about today. The Apple product has more features than Android. Android is not officially released, but we quickly pushed out a pre-release version of Android just to help in this crisis. And that version has 550 vocal exercises, and then we worked with Nats to get 50 songs on there that could at least be used while people wait for that full version to come out. Hi, Amber. So as people wait for that version to come out, which should be before May, we at least have something in their hands for Android users, and it is working. Some of the features today that I talk about, I'll let you know if they're on Apple, Android, both, whatever. So let me start by giving you this little piece of encouragement. It is possible to be very collaborative and very musical in an online teaching setting. I don't know if many of you follow us on Instagram, but I put a post up from the park, and my very first post in Tips for Online Teachers was to fight the right battles and drop the wrong battles. And so the very first thing I'll say is that the hot topic in almost every chat room, every college that I go teach a masterclass, the hot topic is, oh my gosh, what are we going to do about latency and lag? And oh, it's driving me crazy. So in the immortal words of that wonderful princess from Frozen, let it go. This is not a battle that is worth fighting, not now at least. FaceTime, Google Hangout, Zoom, like we're doing now. Every big company has tried to get video conferencing to be absolutely without delay and lag. I have a lot of friends. In fact, the guy who built Appcompanist worked for Apple for years. He said, look, until we get signals to go the speed of light, this is not going to happen. You are going to have latency and lag when you teach voice online. I don't care what anybody tells you, that is not going to be removed because the giant tech companies in our country are trying and they cannot do it. And it's okay. Here's how you solve that issue in another way. And this isn't a self-serving get Appcompanist comment. You can solve it in many ways with many tools. The key is to get the accompaniment on the correct side of the voice lesson. I cannot accompany my students from my keyboard and have them sing on their end. So think about this. When I have a live student in the room, I'm listening for their breath. I'm watching out of the corner of my eye, the movement of their shoulders, the movement of their head. Every bit of the collaboration we do depends on me taking signals from them, me playing in response to those signals, them hearing me play, and then us syncing the voice and the piano together as one sort of collaborative effort. That can't happen. First of all, for me to take those signals through a computer screen while looking at a score and playing is not going to happen, no matter how good I am. Secondly, there is a delay coming to me from the signals. There's a delay going back the other direction with the piano. There's a delay coming back to me with the voice. So that's the first thing, is everybody needs to just go like this. Let it go. We're not going to solve lag or delay in online teaching. We're going to go around it, and we're going to be very musical doing it. So when you put the accompaniment in the hand of the singer, you let them accompany themselves. So as I said, there's a lot of tools to do this. The one I'm discussing today, of course, is Appcompanist, and I'll explain why I think it's a good one. No solution's perfect. I don't love, YouTube and things like that, accompaniment recordings there, but I will say, if money is the real issue and it's like we have got to use what we have, then at the very least, let the student get a YouTube track on their end and sing for you. For you teachers, envision yourselves as a masterclass teacher. We teach differently when we teach in master classes. We don't do as much back and forth. Usually we're not playing the piano. There's an accompanist there. So we're communicating differently. Teach online as though you're teaching a master class. Really allow the student to be the accompanist on their end, to present for you. You will use your hands and signal things more often. Conducting is a little tough, I'll be honest with you. That is where lag can be an issue. If you try to do a 4 pattern, like on Zoom, actually it's pretty good. You could probably follow that 4 pattern. Sometimes depending on signal, it can be a little slow. But hand signals, visual symbols, telling a student when to stop, being comfortable with that. Students, you on the other end, be comfortable with a teacher doing this to have you stop. And while you're following your music, make sure you've got an eye on the screen, because now this is the only way they can really stop you. If you're singing and I try to yell at you or say something to you, we lose audio. We don't have true duplex audio in FaceTime or Zoom. So you're going to get that frustration of, oops, sorry. Oh, wait, what? Oh, what did you say? Oh, go ahead. So part of minimizing is just allowing the time to say, I'm going to stop you. Then the student stops. Then I get to talk and say, okay, listen, at bar 22 there through about 44, here's what I felt you were doing with your shoulders. Here's where I heard your breath getting tight. I want to do that whole segment again. Let's go back from 22. We'll start right there. I'm going to let you go. Now I shut up and I let them sing. And that's more of a masterclass style. Everyone will be more comfortable. Don't try to teach like you're in the same room when you're teaching online. It's just a different medium. It's not bad. It's just a different medium. I taught a student the other day who said, I loved this. I said, well, what do you mean you love this? And she goes, I feel like I'm so amped up in the studio with you and we get going back and forth. And I feel like I have to go home and listen to the recording of my lesson to remember even what you were saying to me in the lesson. She goes, but this way, I really feel like I listen to you when you're talking to me. I was like, well, there you go, bonus. So again, it's not fighting against the medium, it's learning to work within the medium. So Appcompanist, as I said, is an app that is built to address these real needs. So now what I'm going to do is, in that vein that I just gave you, in this new idea that we're going to teach allowing the student to be the accompanist, or if I'm demonstrating, then I need to accompany myself on my end. We need to sing for each other, not with each other, because that doesn't work really well. So given that, I want to highlight some features in Appcompanist that sort of make this possible. Now, the very first one, and I'm going to hold the phone up occasionally. I know it's a little obnoxious way to do it, but the very first thing I want to highlight in Appcompanist is that there are vocal exercises, like tons of them. In fact, I'll go back to playlists. If you look at playlists, you'll see there's top 50 vocal exercises, and then there's all vocal exercises. If you go under playlists, all vocal exercises has Marchesi, Vaccai, Concone, Garcia. If you're a musical theater person, you've never heard any of those names. Those are sort of schools of singing where all of these wonderful scales and exercises are all written in books that you can get. At the top 50, we even put a PDF on our website of those top 50 exercises with notation, and they're just free. So go grab it. So teachers, students, the very number one thing is the exercises. When we built this tool, and I'll show you how it works now. When we built the exercise tool, the idea was to have a subscription for exercises. Because we love singers and our teachers, we all got a light bulb over our head and said, hey, forget it. Let's build this tool and give it away for free, because what we want is singers to exercise and vocalize. So this thing, on Android, it's available now on the pre-release. On iPhone, it's available with the free version. So you download the app. You don't have to pay anything if you don't have a subscription. At the very least, use these exercises, because what it lets you do, so I'm showing you the interface if you haven't seen it. I have melody on, and next to melody, you see a little black arrow pointing up. I had a really hard time letting go of playing exercises for my students, because that is something I actually can do. I don't play rep really well, but I can play the heck out of exercises, scales, and arpeggios. So I had a hard time letting it go, because it's something I really like to do actively. I'm also one who likes to go a few, and if I hear something funky, I stop and I fix it immediately, and then we go on. I just don't like ingraining weird habits. That's just my preference. I'm not telling you to teach that way. But, so check it out. I'm going to start playing. So this is a 9 scale. Now you hear, I can change tempo. If I want to change direction, I hit the arrow down. Now I'm heading back down again. I can choose from the key wheel where that key signature is. You can actually, and I'm not going to try to show you everything. Go to our website. There's tutorials on there for everything. But what I will say is you can start exercises in any key. I like to write down for my students ahead of time. Like I'll generally pick, I'm going to do exercise 1, 7, 9. I get organized before I teach so that I don't waste time on my online lessons. But what I like to do is, once I know the exercise, once I generally know the tempo they like to go, remember I said I like to stop them and go again? This feature you're going to love. I can go up, down by these arrows. I can say the next iteration is going to go up, the next iteration is going to go down, or the next iteration is going to stay the same. Now here's what's cool. I don't play it on my end. I put it in their hand. I say, open exercise 7, set the tempo at about 84%. That's about the speed I want you to do this at. Start off going up. Then I sit on my end of the screen and I just go like this, or like this, or like that. And I do it while they're singing the scale, because if you wait too long until those little chords are playing, you'll notice that the chord will play up, and if then you hit the arrow, the scale will actually head down. So you'll get the timing. There's little things you do need to learn like that. But what's cool is I'll say that, I'll just give hand signals of what I want to hear. Now, if they're going along, so I'm heading up right now. Now I just paused and you heard it go dun dun, we're heading up, right? I can stop, talk to them, say, okay, listen, when you breathe in, you got your shoulders coming up and you're taking really shallow breaths. Wait a second, shake it out, get your shoulders down, breathe from the, I'll give all my little advice. Then I will pitch check. There's a little note next to the fermata button, if you see it. If I tap that now, that's the next pitch. And by the way, I can change the octave. If it's a female singer, for example, wait, I can change that octave up or put it for a guy. And you can do that on the fly. But, so I stopped it right there. Now I'm going to check the pitch. Okay. Wait. Sorry. Let me go back. Okay, so if I pitch check this, now I can touch fermata, and instead of just hitting play and they have to catch up, I'll tell them on their end of the computer, hold fermata, count yourself in, and when you're ready, let go. Now this you can't do with a regular recording. So I can say 1, 2, 3, sing. So we call that a fermata start feature. And the reason it works like that is because when you're holding fermata, it's armed and ready to play, but the second you let go, the millisecond you let go, it starts playing exactly the next note or chord of the accompaniment. It works in repertoire as well, and I'll show you how. But for exercises, for me, it's so handy just to be able to be playing along. Stop, talk to them, check a pitch, and then go on to the next scale. So that's for the exercises. You can set an odd tempo, you can share them with your students. So if your student has a subscription, even if it's a Pick 6 subscription, which we'll talk about later, they have all of these exercises. So if you share the ones you want to do with them that day, it just puts it in a little playlist for them, and they can then use those. Note, Android does not have sharing yet. We're trying to roll it out as fast as we can, so some features are not going to be there immediately. Apple does have sharing already, so that's one way in the lesson. Is if you can imagine now I'm the student, and if I'm just singing and you point down, now I can go down again. You do this, meaning go again. You just tap the black arrow until they both become white. And now it's just going to stay, same pitch. Now I went up. And I'll sometimes motion to slow them down, or I'll conduct to speed up, and they'll basically come to my tempo. So if you're a teacher, at very least, explore the exercises. At the very least, get your students to download exercises. Students, please, please, it's free, to at least take advantage of that, okay? Moving on really quickly, I showed you a little bit about tempo slider, but let me get some repertoire up here. So the other thing that bothered me about students singing with recordings is that when you sing with a set recording, whether it be YouTube or teachers, I know they're all asking us, play this for me and send it to me so we can do our lesson. If you have to, great. If we don't happen to have it in our 5,000 title library and growing, sometimes you have to. Here's the problem that I just want to alert you to. When your students on the other end of an online lesson or in their own practice are singing with recording, and we studied this carefully when we were developing the app, the tendency is always for the singer to drag. They don't learn how to lead a pianist anymore in a collaborative effort. So the problem is the student gets used to slowing down to listen and make sure they're hearing the piano correctly. As they slow down, they get a tendency to drag. So what does a live pianist do? The live pianist will actually hold back with the singer. As the singer slows down to listen, the pianist slows down to accommodate the singer, and you've got this bad downward spiral. So every place other than Broadway audition rooms where the pianist will just say, "You're coming with me," for the most part, you're going to end up dragging. So what we did is put control into the hand of the singer. So I'm just going to do a little piece from Chess, say. This is where I want to be from Chess. I'm going to show you the tempo slider. When the student has this in their hand, in fact, I'll just hold it down where you don't even see it. I have my thumb on the tempo slider. Let's say I want to speed up. I don't even have to look. Do you hear the rubato I'm making? I don't have to look at my phone to do that. Once you grab the tempo slider with your thumb, you can come off it with your thumb. It doesn't matter. As long as you're still touching the screen, you move your thumb left, you're slowing down. You move it right, you're speeding up. So it can be ridiculous. Listen to this. I'll just make rubato. And it's all smooth. No matter how fast you go or how slow you go, it's not going to change the quality of the piano at all. So the rubato being in the hand of the student keeps them from dragging. If they want to speed up their voice, they move their thumb right and that piano comes right along with them. All of the recordings are live. They're live coach accompanists that recorded these things. But we've recorded it in a way that it can be manipulated without losing quality. So that's, to me, that alone is a game changer for putting a student on the other end and saying, sing with a recording. As a teacher, I feel 10 times more comfortable if I can say, don't give me some wooden, I don't want to hear you interpret this piece exactly the same way every time. I want you to make a musical performance of this thing and sing it for me. There's a couple little, before I leave this feature, I'm going to show you, if I want to make a retard and come back to tempo, I can slide my finger up the screen to return right to the tempo I was at. So I'm going to drag down and then slide my finger up the screen and you'll see it snap back to tempo. You can do the same thing with the cello rondo. There's a little feature, you can go watch the tutorial for it, but if I want to set a different tempo, let's say my student typically takes it at 114%, they can actually set it there, tap 114, and the little word tempo will move underneath the slider there. That's now the tempo it'll return to if you do what I just did. So I can slow down and then just swipe my finger up the screen, it goes right back to 114, which is where I know I want it. Now, there's I'll talk about something a little later called custom versions where you can save all of that stuff if you want, but we'll talk about that in a minute because it's only on iPhone. So that's the tempo slider to get the student on their end to not drag. I think for online teaching, that thing alone to me separates it from nearly every other thing that I would have them use. And at least for my students with a option that's $4 a month, I don't even mess around. I'm like, I don't actually let my students sing with recordings that don't move. I just don't. That's me. So because it's available, I'm like, no, just do this, and then I know you're making a new interpretation each time. Melody help this is really quick and fast, melody and key. So I'll hit key actually first. All I want you to know about the key change is, I'm in this key. If you tap on the key signature, you get a selection wheel. Now I'm going to go up. I just transposed up a half step. I'm going to go way down, crazy down. It doesn't matter what key you put a recording in, and you'll see in the key wheel when you go to select, our original recording it doesn't have anything after it. It'll just say the key signature. Everything else either has -1, -2, so you're knowing how far you're transposing from that originally recorded key. Again, it's just a recorded key. So when people request something and say, oh, do it in the baritone key, it doesn't matter. You can go up 11, you can go down 11, doesn't matter where we record it. It doesn't change the quality at all. It's because they're not audio recordings. People will talk about programs like The Amazing Slowdowner, and there are programs that take audio and move it. Hal Leonard books, when they come with a code and you can, change tempo. But that's a different way to accomplish it. And when you move audio, you lose quality the further you go, whether you're moving tempo or whether you're moving key. You'll notice it gets really metallic and weird sounding. The further you transpose an audio recording, it just gets weirder and weirder. We don't actually do it that way. We do it a different way, which means I can go 7 half steps up. It'll sound exactly the same as when I'm in my original key. So that's key. As far as melody help, I love this. This is a teacher's baby right here, because I absolutely love this thing. When we design the melody, so let's say, I'm just going to stick with the same song we've been doing. So, okay, so it's playing the melody, and I can put it, I just move the melody down an octave. Now, here's what's cool. When a student needs melody help, what do we do when we're on the piano? We keep what we can underneath and we give them some melody help. But depending what they need, if they really get in the weeds, we start slamming away on the melody. So what we did when we built this is there's a slider here. And by the way, melody is turned on by these little, I can turn melody off altogether and just not have a melody. But when I turn it on, I have a little slider here. If I go to the right, I'm only getting melody. As I come back the other direction, now you hear melody and accompaniment are balancing. If I go all the way left, I'm all the way at accompaniment. If I hit blend and just come into the middle, that's going to be a blend exactly between melody and accompaniment. So have them on their end. Again, when you're online teaching, they don't have the luxury of me banging a melody out when they get in the weeds. So when my students are on the other end, I'll basically have them open melody and keep it to the left. And I'll just tell them, look, if you get in the weeds and you think you need a little melody help, just grab that and pull it to the right. And I'll actually hear them on my end pulling it in. And they get a little bit of help, and as they're comfortable, they pull it back out again. It's the only tool I know that lets you actively pull in a melody to get the help when you need it, balance it the way you want, and then pull it back out when you don't need it, or just turn it off altogether if you don't need it. That's a super helpful thing for online teaching. Now, the creme de la creme here. So when you are, one of the tough things, if you're doing, let's see, I'm gonna pick up. Sorry, I get a little man up La Mancha. All right, so see this fermata button? I have a ring around that gold button, and as I described in exercises before, I've armed the fermata. Now, when I'm holding a fermata, if there are notes ringing underneath, they'll keep ringing underneath. They'll just hold. I happen to pick a little break in this one where, I've got it held, the notes are not ringing, but the next line is, and the world, and the piano is supposed to come in exactly on world. Check it out. And the world will be better for this. It's the fermata will let you actually not only hold held notes, but you can, in a pause, you can stop, hold it, and you know that just like if you were sitting at the piano and you're watching your student and they go, and the world, and you play that chord with them, you can do the same thing on here. More importantly, they can do the same thing on here. So when a student gets used to and knows the score, there are so many places in songs, in repertoire, where there are little fermatas that render a static recording completely unusable or unbearable. I mean, I was just doing Nel cor più non mi sento with a student the other day out of the 24 Italian songs and arias. And there's a big old fermata at the end of the second line. And if you can't hold that fermata and know exactly where the next chord is going to come back in, you're sunk. Like the minute it stops, no matter who recorded it, I don't care, you're both staring at each other like, well, I don't know when the next chord's going to come. Take your best guess. This thing actually lets you do it in a way. In fact, I'll even go to, let's see, let me get Till There Was You. This will let you do things like, let's see. Sorry, I had a cough. So this would be one use, like of dawn and dew. Notes are ringing underneath. I'm holding them. There was love. It's in exactly when I want it to be. I can speed up through this. And check this out. Till there was you. So I'm totally in control of the recording in terms of fermata, in terms of tempo, in terms of key change. That is the play features that for me, if you're having to do online lessons, as I said, it's serendipitous. We did this because this is how we like to practice as singers. But the environment we find ourselves in now, where we have to try to do this thing on two ends of a computer, for me to be able to tell my students, go play with this app until you can hold your own fermati, you can speed up, you can slow down, you can bring melody in as needed. What have I just done? I've completely put the ability in their hand to do the thing that I can't do for them on my end of the computer. Now, what do I get to do? As a voice teacher, now I get to actually sit here and watch them. I get to actually watch their body position. I'll put them back from the camera a bit and I'll say, I need to see you from like hips to top of head at least. That way I really get to see what's going on. They can stand back there, hold the phone, put their Bluetooth speaker, you know, maybe 25 feet away from the computer so I get decent audio to hear them. And it's incredible because really I find myself now teaching a well-accompanied singer, and I can hold my hand up and stop them. Occasionally they drag with the recording, like they'll actually put the tempo slow thinking they need it slow. And I'm on the camera doing this saying, come on, push yourself, speed up, move that thing forward. And it's phenomenal because there are options I have that I don't have. If they're singing with a set recording, I can't do this. I can't say, let's move it along a little faster. So to me, we've reached a point where we're now having teachers call us and saying, I cannot tell you how this is changing my ability to teach online. Again, not why we designed it at all, but helping immensely. There's two more little teeny things three teeny things I'm gonna hit, then it's all you guys, all right? So markers. One of the time wasters in a lesson, and this is on both Android and iOS, but one of the time wasters in a lesson is if you are using a recording, hunting around for where in the recording you want to start. So we added a feature, and we just recently improved the feature based on this latest position we find ourselves in. So markers are under edit controls. So you see the little ring around the pad of paper pencil looking thing there? If you turn that on and you see the ring around it and it's on, you'll see above it, if the piece is stopped, a little scissors, a little loop thing, and a down arrow with a line. That down arrow with a line is a marker. And what's cool is we made this super simple. When you hit play, so I'm gonna do A Lovely Night from Cinderella. When you are going along in tempo, you can tap that arrow to add a marker anywhere you want. So 1, 3, 4, and I'm going to add another one at 3, 4, and of the next section here. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and. Now I added markers right at Stars in a Hazy Heaven, right? Well, what's cool is with that marker in there, I'm just going to navigate back to that marker. That's Stars in a Hazy Heaven, ready? So it lets me get around now. I'll go back to Finer Night You Know You'll Never See. So that the first marker I dropped would be the downbeat of the second Lovely Night. So, oops, sorry about that. So I'm gonna go to, that's the second Lovely Night. What's cool about that is if I'm in between these markers, I can actually cut that section. So let's say now, I'm gonna actually let you just listen to this. So I'm going to the beginning of the piece, and now what you'll hear, because I hit the scissors, you see it's red between my two markers. Remember, I tapped those markers in time. You can slow the tempo down if it's a really complex passage and you've got to tap it exactly where you want. You'll get used to kind of how it works, because if you tap, say, right on a chord and that's where you want to be, you'll miss it sometimes. So that's why I did 3, 4, and. I tapped on 4 and because I was trying to get right in between 4 and 1 so that I had the downbeat. And here's why. Now I stuck a cut in. It should go, you know, love me not, the finest night you know you'll never see, the stars in a hazy heaven. I cut the second half of the first verse. So if you listen, you'll see the cut jump right over. One, two, three, four, the stars in a hazy heaven. So I made a little cut, and you can create those cuts yourself with markers. Go watch the tutorial on the I'll show you how to do this. Here's what we changed about that. You didn't used to be able to share a song with markers in it, and we just changed that and updated the app. So now it's a huge time saver. If you will have your student do it, or you can do it yourself and share it with your student. If my students do it, I have them share that song with me with the markers, because here's what's super handy. If they'll go through and mark verses, choruses, bridge, end of the recit, beginning of the aria, beginning of the B section, just mark the heck out of it so that we can very quickly, I can say, oh, you know what, I want to go back and look at just the beginning of the aria again. Forget the rest, just go to the beginning of the aria. You can tap the marker and the recording will go right there. And then cool thing you can do, like I showed you for Mata Start, I'm going to go to the stars in the hazy heaven downbeat. Here's the neat thing. That's the pitch for the stars. That's the stars pitch, right? So now I check the pitch, I arm fermata, and you can count them in 1, 2, 3. The stars in a hazy heaven. They can do that on their end. You can do that on your end. So that's the piece that is really helpful about markers. Anywhere you drop one is a place that you can use fermata start to have the piano start exactly with them. Again, it's like 10 minutes, 15 minutes worth of mess around with stuff until you get good at it. I have people write me now and say, oh, you know what I do is I slow it way, way down, and then right before the pitch I want it to go, that's where I put the marker. You'll figure out your own stuff. Like, people are figuring out how to use it in ways we never thought of. But that's markers, cuts, and loops. I put this way at the end. It's a pretty phenomenal thing, but unfortunately, Android people, you're going to have to wait a little bit for it. Apple, it's there now. It's called custom versions. And I'll just show you very quickly. I'm not even going to try to demonstrate. Just go look on the website, but I will show you where it is. There's 3 little dots down in the right corner. Any song you're in, if you tap those, you'll see share song, which is obvious, add to playlist, which I'll talk about playlists in a sec, or reset song settings, which if you've done a whole bunch of like turning on and changing your tempo and all this, sometimes I'll just go in there and reset song settings to get back to whatever the recording was before I messed with it. Then the magic, ready for this? So create custom version. If you tap create custom version, I'm just going to describe it, not show it because it'll take too long. If you tap create custom version, your play arrow will get a little red circle around it. Now when I hit play, I'm actually recording my own version. I can speed up and slow down using the tempo slider. So let's say one of our artists recorded a piece and you don't like the rubato that they've put in, or you just don't like their tempo or whatever. You can actually use the tempo slider, make that sound exactly the way you want, put fermatas in there, and then hit save custom version, and it'll actually save another version of the song with all of your stuff. And you'll actually see the tempo slider move just the way you did when you were creating your custom version. Here's the coolest part about it is that you've created a custom version, but that custom version is still flexible. So anytime I want to grab the tempo slider and take over, I can take over and do stuff and then let go, and it goes back to my custom version again. So it's like double layer flexibility. I smile because I think it's one of the coolest things that's ever been invented. And when I use custom versions, I'll even, like that La Mancha piece I was doing, it's tough to grab that fermata when it goes dun, 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 because right away there's a bass note in the piano that comes right after that. So you kind of have to grab the fermata exactly at the right time, or otherwise you miss it. And if you miss it and you let go, now it like goes to some note you didn't plan. So I'll use custom versions sometime, and I'll actually put the fermata in there in the custom version and hold it maybe a few seconds. The reason I do that is because now that fermata is a placeholder. Now I never miss it. I just wait and I watch my phone, and when that little gold ring comes around the fermata, I'm like, cool, it's already been grabbed at the exact right time that I recorded. Then I grab it with my thumb, and now I can hold it as long as I want. And when I let go, it goes on. So these are little hacks that you'll kind of learn as you go. But don't just play recordings. If you get the app and you're using it in online lessons, the whole point is to make use of the stuff I showed you today, because what I was trying to give you is a sense that you can do things in online lessons that you didn't think you could do. If you thought you had to play on your end, you don't. Once we put accompaniment in the student's end, if you thought you're stuck just having them follow a recording and you just let them sing until they're done and comment, that's not true either. You can stop, you can go to a marker, you can hold fermati, you can change tempo, you can conduct them and speed them up, slow them down. I think it's what makes online teaching actually work. So that's the sum total. The playlists I don't really even need to go into. It's very easy. You can save songs to playlists. So students in particular, if you have like 5 exercises you love doing, and oh wow, hi Wendy, I didn't even see you guys out there, and Jenna, if you use the say a typical set of exercises, or you have your repertoire, just pull it into a playlist ahead of time so you and your teacher don't hunt. All of these features are just to save time in a lesson. Every single thing we put on here. So playlists is really nothing more than that. I'll grab 6 songs, I'll shoot the playlist, I'll share it with a student ahead of time and say, this is what I want to work today. And you can change the order, and sometimes I'll even put it in order and just say, this is the order we're going in today. I'll put 3 exercises, 4 songs, and it's like, boom, that's what we're doing. We both know beforehand. As you know, time is precious. If lessons range from, $80 to $240 an hour, or depending where you are in the country, that's all precious time, especially now when we're all super tight. So the more we can make the most of every minute of that lesson. And to me, as a teacher, the most is when I'm listening to a student giving actionable feedback so that they can change things about how they're singing, and it actually improves what they're doing. That's the value of a lesson. Me taping songs, that is not my value as a teacher. Me banging out melody notes and saying, here, let me show you how that phrase goes, that's not my expertise as a teacher. You can definitely do that on your own. To make this environment work is we both show up prepared. And I think if your students will use the app to do the wood shedding ahead of time, and you both learn the features enough to be able to accompany on your own sides of the computer, I think this is a very doable situation. In fact, I don't think we're ever going to go back from here. I think we're all going to get to collaborate again, yes, but this is now, it's like this door is open. Students are going to ask you for online lessons for any number of reasons in the future, because now we know it can be done. Teachers are going to teach people in different states and different countries because now we know we can. So I think we've entered this age. We, obviously we pray for a time when we can all get back to collaborating in person together. But until then, this can help. I think even after then, this can also help. And so we're just thankful to be able to help. Again, we're musicians. We're on your side. I answer every single email that goes into info@Appcompanist. My sweet wife answers all of the Facebook posts and messages and whatnot. We're just a small team trying to do something really cool for singers. So, ask us, reach out to us. I'm going to answer your questions. Whoops, I just saw a thing. Turn it up a little, sorry. Well, if you didn't hear something, I do apologize. I'm ready to take questions. I don't even know exactly how to do it with a moderator in, but I bet Dane will show us. Any of you who want to hit like raise hand or be unmuted or whatever and ask a question, feel free, and Dane will help me answer you, or you can write over here.
Yeah, so everybody, you can either ask questions by typing it into the chat, which can be found at the lower part of your screen, or raising your hand. And I believe Mary told us how to do that yesterday, and I already forgot. I believe it's if you hover over yourself, Mary, is that what it is? Yeah, if you hover over your picture at the top, then it's in reactions. Oh, look.
There you go. Amber told us.
Amber told us. All right, I'm muting.
Okay, so the custom version, so Diane, are you on an iPhone? Diane, let's see, I'm looking for a Diane, but I don't see. So, okay, iPad. Yeah, if you're on an iPhone or an iPad, you definitely have custom versions. Just make sure your app is updated. And basically if you go in, so you'll find it's not special customs, it's called custom versions. And if you tap the little three dots in the bottom right of your device in the app, you'll see this list, and it's the bottom one in that list. Let me know if you didn't find it for some odd reason, or if you just haven't updated in forever. But like that's a year and a half old, so you would have had to almost never update and subscribe like a year and a half ago. It'll be there. Sorry, Android users, that's not going to be in yours for a little while. We're going to get there. Any other questions? You just got the program and don't have it. Oh, Google Play. So that means you're on an Android phone. So you will not have it because you're on an Android. Sorry. We are going to build it. And in fact, you know what helps us, you guys, while I have this question? If you are, okay, I'll answer that in 1 second. So if you are on an Android and let's say sharing is really important to you versus custom versions, there's only a few features that aren't on Android, but custom versions is one of them. It helps us if you drop me a note and say, I am desperate. Custom versions is super important to me because we're releasing a Coral version in the fall. And we're debating right now whether we really push these features into Android. And one of the conversations you have on our end is like, well, is it really important to people? Because in truth, of the thousands of people who use iPhone, not many had made custom versions when we checked. That's why we didn't prioritize it into Android initially. If you think it's super important, please tell us, because then we'll prioritize it more highly. I have a question that says, is there a reference somewhere for Android users as to the reference number of the exercises so I can tell my students, for example, I want you to put exercise 1. Yes, actually. Okay, Virtually Vocal is a totally unrelated company, so no, it doesn't correspond to anything in there. That's just a totally different company. Our exercises are all found under playlists in the app. So playlists will, as I showed you, typically it'll only start when you get your app. You'll only see sample songs, top 50 vocal exercises, and all vocal exercises. Those will be the only playlists you have. You can create more, obviously. Your Android and your iPhones will be identical in the exercises. So you can tell your Android students, if you're on an Android phone, you can tell them, go to, Marchese, book 1, exercise 2. They're all labeled and they all have, of course, it could be faster for you to, you could tell them to put them in a playlist, but yeah, they're all labeled the same. So you'll see when you first open all playlists, it's this huge intimidating list. And then you open one of them like Marchese Opus 31 Part 1, and then you'll be going down and they all have names and exercise numbers. This matches the book, by the way. And I have pop singers who have recently gotten into Concone, the sight singing book, have gotten into Marchese. Guys, any kind of singer you have, those classical exercises are phenomenal. And it's my pop singers that are having the most fun with it. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this existed. Some of them are learning solfege, which I can't even believe. Pianists who'd like to add accompaniments to your library. That's a great question. Someone asked if pianists want to add something. We totally quality control our own library, so we record everything. I add about 120 pieces a month, and I'm actually increasing hours for the guys. I just got about 220 requests in the last 5 days. So as I said, there's 5,000 titles on there. The repertoire is huge. The pianists that I use are wonderful. I am opening up the possibility to hire more pianists to be able to add more. So feel free to have people reach out to me if there's someone who's like, hey, I'm out of work right now and I could really use some recording gig. I will say we record in a very specific technical way. So if it's someone who just plays an acoustic piano and doesn't know anything about digital recording, they would have a very hard time working for us. But that said, we don't allow people to just add recordings. There's no real good way for us to do that. I would still have to take them in and vet them. And by that time I could just contract them and work with people that I'm sure they're going to do it the way that I hope. So we don't do that, to answer that question. Okay, someone put pick 5 student version. It's actually pick 6. And really quickly, there's unlimited subscriptions and there's pick 6. Unlimited subscriptions give you access to the entirety of a library, everything we add to it, everything that's there. So you can do, there's only 2. There's classical vocal, which includes oratorio and sacred, art song, arias, operetta, light opera, all of that, zarzuela, all of that stuff is in there. So that's classical vocal. There's a different library, which is musical theater. The unlimited subscriptions are to either one or the other of those libraries at $9.99 a month. If you get the complete collection, it's $14.99 a month, and that's both libraries together. We're going to do something for Android users because you're missing some features and because we're really pushing this thing out. We're going to do a limited offer of the complete collection for $9.99 for Android users. There'll be one subscription, $9.99 everything. Apple, don't be bitter because we're catching their features up. So let's love on Android people and let them have something for a minute, all right? And the Pick 6 is a low-cost option we put in place for students because I know even $10 a month. Oh, by the way, on unlimited subscriptions, we just upped the free trial from 7 days to a month. And we did that so that students could get, the way Apple does it is you subscribe to one. So say I pick complete collection monthly, I subscribe, and then it gives me a month free trial. If I cancel on day 29, I don't pay anything. I don't get charged by Apple. We did that because maybe some students out there just need to record some auditions. They need access to a lot of rep. They cannot pay a subscription, or we as teachers don't want to ask them to. So we say, look, just for 3 weeks, get a free trial, cancel. But we know that's a reality. That's fine. That's why we upped it to 30 days. We're not about grabbing money from singers. We're trying to get this out in people's hands where it helps. We also, for that same reason, did Pick 6. Pick 6 is a different subscription. You'll find it under the subscription options under low cost options. And when you tap that, it takes you to Pick 6. All the info's on the website as well. Pick 6 is basically, I can choose any 6 songs from the complete collection, pull them into a playlist. I can sample them ahead of time to make sure I got the right one. It'll ask me, is this really the one you want? Yes, I do. Now I just put one in and then another and another. And when I hit 6, I'm done. That's all I can have this month. Once those 6 are picked, I can use those as much as I want for the whole month. It's only $3.99. So we did that so that students who do a limited amount of rep at any given time can just spend $3.99 a month. They have unlimited access to those and all the vocal exercises. And then when the month term comes up, they'll be notified like, hey, your monthly term is up. Do you want to swap out any of your songs? And at that point, they can swap out any or all of those songs. It's a revolving library of 6 songs, basically. And we did that as a low-cost option for students. You can always upgrade to unlimited from that. Important note, Pick 6 does not come with a free trial. So if you do Pick 6, the $4 is boom, you paid it right away. There is no free trial. So, and we do write that places, but I still have gotten people going, hey, what gives? Where's my free trial? iPad and Android, no is the quick answer to that. No, as with all renewable subscription models and things where the company doesn't control it. So we don't control it. You don't give us your credit cards. We don't manage any of that. You literally, if you're Apple, you do it through Apple ID. We never even see who signs up, how they pay, if your credit card expires. We don't have access to any of that. So it's Apple is one company, Google is a different company. We have no way to give you it on both platforms. That's totally an Apple Google thing. They're competitors, so that's not going to happen. But so you'd have to choose. You can use it on multiple devices under the same Apple ID or multiple devices under the same Google Play ID. Membership packages cost, what is included in a membership? We don't really think of it as a membership. We think of it as a subscription because in the simplest way, you're subscribing for access like Spotify. Think of it like Apple Music, Spotify, Netflix. There's a bunch of content and Disney Plus, we give you access to that content. Now, why this is super important to you guys is that, and I'm not going to speak out against other companies, but I will tell you, we pay mechanical and performance royalties on every stream of every song because we are composers and we're passionate that people are getting paid and these recordings are done right. There are streaming companies out there right now on accompaniments that are not paying royalties. And I don't love that. So I will just put it to you that way. The reason the subscription and the streaming is important, it answers the question of, can I just buy a track? We're not set up that way. We are a streaming service. We pay based on streams. That's why, you know, people will ask, hey, can I post myself singing? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Can I do my audition recording? Yes, we've already paid a performance royalty. You can do that. The only thing you can't do is you can't So yes, we pay all those royalties. We pay them based on streams. If you record our recordings and then give them to a friend and say, hey, practice with this track, you've just gone around the system. And that is an actual illegal copy because no one's getting paid royalties from that. So just so you know, we do that really above board. They are subscriptions. The subscriptions are auto-renewable, meaning once you sign up for an unlimited subscription, you get that 30-day free trial. If you don't cancel, it's automatically going to become a paid subscription. If you don't cancel later, it's going to keep going as a paid subscription. It's an auto-renewable model that's used by everybody, you know, from Apple to Disney. So we're just literally using the model they put in place. We think it's a good one, but you know, do be aware, because I've had students go, shoot, my free trial expired 3 days ago. I have no ability to do anything about that. Apple has to deal with them at that point. Like I said, we don't see credit cards. We don't take money. Apple pays us. You don't pay us. Okay. Have you found allowing a third person to sit on a lesson affects the audio for all three people? I don't know is the answer to that. I actually haven't done that. So there you go. Would you ever consider making Appcompanist work as a website since it's already an app form? No. We do get asked that a lot. We're literally a 3-person company, and the time it would take to develop and maintain a website rather than an app is like going backwards and putting things on CDs again to us. So no, we're not going to do that. But Apple may make it possible for apps to be used on the laptop iOS. If they ever do that, then you're golden. But we're going to let the big guys do that, and we're going to keep recording rep and making new features and doing choral and all that. Otherwise, we would slow ourselves down a lot, and then you'd suffer. It is, oh, someone already put it up there. Thanks, guys. Awesome. And I made it to the bottom of the list, and it's 1:56. Any more questions? I know I sound like really hyper. I'm not that hyper. Right, Jenna? Well, actually I am. Is there or might there be a special pricing for schools? I'm really glad that this is a question that got asked, because I answer about 30 of these a day on email. We don't have an ability to do studio licensing, institutional licensing. The Apple subscription model we use, it just doesn't exist. There's no way to do it. And the disadvantage of, even if we could do it, the disadvantage is institutional subscriptions, we need everybody's account tied to their Apple ID. So if they leave the school, go home for the summer, all the custom playlists, all of their custom versions, all of their song settings go with them. You can imagine the nightmare if we give a school an account, and even if we could, which we can't, but you can kind of imagine the level of nightmare. And so we really committed early to just one system, which is let the student who needs it get it. And so here's the thing, if you're a school and you desperately want to pay for it for students, there are schools who have given iTunes gift cards at this time just to say, here guys, go get a subscription tied to your own Apple ID. Here's an iTunes gift card. And that's how they've done it. I know it's not elegant, but it keeps us in our model of staying with the individual being in charge of their own stuff. You know, this is a tool the individual needs to have. And actually, when I used to work with another company that did institutional subscriptions, we found on our own data that most of the time the school bought it and about 20% of the students actually used it. When it was just free and sitting there and the school paid for it, the students didn't use it. So even as an educator, I feel pretty good about make the student pay a little bit of money, they'll value it, and they'll actually use it more. I don't apologize for that. We are doing everything we can to help students because we know it's tight right now. So some of those things I described, like the free trial and all that. And lots of nice thank yous. You guys are awesome. It is 1:58. We're probably going to get cut off momentarily. We will do these again. Alex, who is the brilliant guy at CS Music, who's in charge of everything there pretty much. He actually said, hey, let's do more of these. So if you liked this and it was helpful, keep your eye on CS Music website and tell your friends and other teachers that this was helpful for you. Also, just as a little plug, if you could rate us on the App Store, if what we're doing is helping you, that really helps us. And if we can grow, we can add more rep and all that. So if you'd give us nice little shout outs on social or reviews, that would be wonderful. And I really appreciate you guys. Hang in there, sing lots of love from Appcompanist to all you guys. And thank you, CS Music, because you guys are awesome.
Thanks, Darin. Thanks for joining us today. Again, everybody, we will be sending out an email with all of Darin's information so that you guys can get in contact with him and share any kind of links that Darin wants to share with that. And then don't forget to join us to Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Sharon Wheatley's masterclass. And until then, we'll see you guys later. Have a good day.